Hi, I'm Owen Wheeler, and this is my presentation, Leadership in 4D. Frames are fundamentally different lenses through which you can view a situation or problem. There are four of them, and each person leads with or favors a particular frame to understand the world. Here's a depiction of the four frames and their associated colors and attributes. In the upper left corner is the blue, or structural frame. It is introverted and focused on goals, rules, and the architecture. This is the get things done right frame. This one is familiar to me because it's my dad's. Moving over to the next quadrant clockwise is the political or red frame. These are extroverted people, but in a very direct, no BS way. This is the bossy boss view. And moving into the lower right quadrant is the yellow or symbolic frame. These people are extroverted, but they are the more classic extroverts, the rah rah encouragers. They are the people who create the cultural and ritual within a group. Finally, in the lower left quadrant is the green or human resource frame. This is the frame I am. It's a little bit more introverted, but they are very interested in people's feelings, needs, and relationships. This is the frame that will notice if someone's not being included and try to fix it. So what's the point? Well, if you can understand frames and more importantly, understand which frames the people around you are using, you have better relationships and interactions with them. If you know you're dealing with someone who leads with red, and if you're emailing them, you should make it very direct and to the point with the game plan of how you can get things done now. But if they lead with yellow, maybe make it a bit more conversational and ask how their day is. Maybe even add an exclamation mark. Even better, if you can figure out your personal frame you lead with, you can understand your own needs better and also recognize your own shortcomings. In fact, you can also learn how to reframe. If you're having a problem or shortcoming, you might find that your preferred frame is not getting you anywhere. Intentionally reframing to another quadrant can give you a new insight into the nature of the problem that might help you solve it. Personally, I lead with green. I prefer when everyone feels like they have a plate at the table because I know I used to feel like I didn't, and I don't want other people to feel that way. I also believe in having honest conversations about how I'm feeling, how the person I'm in conflict with is feeling, so we can get less angry and more empathetic. I also would consider myself to be a little bit introverted, which makes me a bit more green than yellow. When I'm in a position of leadership, like when I directed a play, I kind of run it more like a dialogue so I can know what everyone else is feeling, rather than me just dictating what other people need to do. Until it gets a bit down to the wire, and then at that point I have to reframe and turn to red and just say what I think needs to be done. And if you see in the corner, the guy in the purple says, Owen should get 100% on this assignment. Now, I don't know about you, but I kind of agree with that guy. So maybe you want to take that into account. Just saying. But my preferred frame have some weaknesses too, and they're sort of the opposite of my preferences. I can advocate for others, but I am not able to advocate for myself that well. And when the conflicts begin to get hostile, I tend to close up and am no longer able to communicate about it well. Additionally, I can be a little bit of a pushover when I'm leading. So my style works best when the people I'm leading want to be there and already believe in the work. I also think I spend a lot of time figuring out how my decisions will affect other people, and sometimes I over prioritize others and my own needs don't get met. This can lead to me taking on too much of a workload in a project. But I think this is helpful to know so that I can make sure I don't take on too much personally and I can equally spread the workload around. When I was directing, sometimes people would be in conflict because they had different frames and different priorities. Maybe one person was more HR and relationship oriented, and someone else was more structural, and what was important to them was the finer details and goals. If I know about all of the frames and am comfortable switching back and forth, I can understand both of their points of view and help them understand each other and help them resolve their conflict. But I also know that my HR frame tells me it's important that people are cared for, and that might be an issue if I rose higher in organizations and needed to focus on getting things done. It's not my natural style to be the political frame, and this course has given me a lot to think about before I enter a workforce. Now, I personally know that I have the hardest time with the red frame, and I have worked with a lot of people who favor that frame, especially in theater. I'm hoping that going forward, learning more about the red frame will help me have better problem solving skills with those folk. Thinking about my preferences through the idea of frames, I can understand better why I don't always stand up for myself or argue for my own ideas in meetings, and I can see how maybe I can do better with that in the future. To conclude, understanding frames help leaders because they can understand their employees and know what they need, and also they can approach problems in different ways when they recognize that what they're currently doing isn't going to solve the problem. They need to change it up. For example, if two colors are having conflicts, you can look from the frame perspective to see what they actually want. If you see what's important to those people, it might help with the situation. If you see someone leads with yellow and is not understanding why they need to put everything in a spreadsheet, but blue really wants them to, you can explain to the employee why it's important for them to do it anyways, because it's important to the blue person to get buy-in. I'm going to be doing some student directing next semester, and I'm looking forward to trying some of the stuff I learned in this class. Thanks for listening, and that's all, folks.